Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 100 horror movies that you've got to check out. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Make sure you hit those buttons down below, the like, subscribe, and even that little bell one if you guys want to know when I post new videos. As you might be able to tell, I'm rocking my new Creature from the Black Lagoon shirt. I posted about this on Patreon the other day. I'm kind of digging it. It fits perfect and looks awesome. This week's movie is one that I have heard of before, but I haven't seen until this viewing. And that movie is the 1960 British psychological horror film, Peeping Tom. Directed by Michael Powell and written by Leo Marks. This film stars Carl Boehm as Mark Lewis and Anna Massey as Helen Stevens. So one of the first things that caught my attention about this movie, obviously, is the name, Peeping Tom. The title took its name from the slang term Peeping Tom, which describes a voyeuristic act. Although I don't know if that was really what was happening in this film per se. I think it was more of a POV scenario with the killer, not so much voyeurism, but I'm sure there's a thin line there that you could fall on either side of. The film's subject matter made it receive a really harsh reception by critics and had a severely negative impact on Michael Powell's directing career, despite the fact that I don't think it was any worse than anything that was going on in the film industry at the time. You had slasher films, you had killers, you had murder in movies. Michael Powell was even friends with Alfred Hitchcock. There are even themes in this movie that were influenced by Hitchcock's works, like Vertigo and Rear Window. I wonder if it's the fact that the killer was looking primarily at women, like actresses and models, and even a lady of the night that made people view it much differently. But then there's the chance that because it was a British film as opposed to an American film, the censors just saw it way harsher than we would have. Either way, I think it's pretty beat that his career was impacted because one group of people were not a fan of the way that he shot it, especially taking into consideration that in the years to follow, it would become kind of a cult classic, and not even just a cult classic. The British Film Institute named it the 78th greatest British film of all time in 2017. So it really does feel like Powell got the short end of the stick when this movie came out. But let me explain a little bit more about what we have going on in this film. In this film, we're following Mark Lewis, who is a member of a film crew aspiring to become a filmmaker himself. He also works part-time as a photographer doing pin-up pictures of women sold under the counter, because I don't think they're 100% legal. He's a shy guy that doesn't really socialize outside of his workplace, and he lives in an apartment building that his father owned, where he rents out the other houses as another source of income. Kind of seems like this is the nice guy next door, nice guy upstairs, mild-mannered. But of course we find out that Mark has a secret life in which he uses a modified tripod and video camera to record the last moments of life of anybody that is unfortunate enough to come in frame of his camera. I believe for Mark, this is more of an obsession thing, that he can't stop himself, he can't control himself, and he doesn't really plan for the aftermath of his actions, because it does not take long for Mark's work to get very sloppy and people start noticing that Mark is connected to all of these bodies that are showing up. At one point in the movie, he meets the downstairs neighbor, Helen, who lives with her blind mother. And Helen, for some reason, is incredibly intrigued or interested by Mark, which I don't 100% understand, because their first meeting or their first interaction was not really a pleasant one. I think if I was in her spot, I would not want to be around Mark any more than I needed to be. But I guess if she's looking at him through rose-colored glasses, she lets that stuff slide, as a lot of us tend to do, because love makes us stupid. As the movie goes on, we learn a little bit more about Mark's childhood as we see the relationship between Mark and Helen grow. Although I think it's a pretty anxious movie throughout the entire viewing, because it doesn't appear like there's any way for this to have a happy ending. But I will say that the ending did surprise me. I don't think I would have guessed that that was going to be how this story wrapped up. As for my feelings on the movie, I definitely don't think it should have gotten as harsh of a reception as it did when it was released. And I don't have a wide enough range of knowledge of British films to say that this belongs in the top 100, placing it 78th. But it was definitely a good movie, definitely worth a watch. I'm curious to see how many people have already seen this or are interested in checking it out, and to see if we feel the same way about it. So please, leave comments below, let me know what you've heard about this, what you think about it, if you've seen it. And that brings us to the scratching off of Peeping Tom. And here is the scratching off of Peeping Tom. Knowing what I do about this movie, I'd have to assume that behind this eye and keyhole, we are going to be looking at something camera related. Maybe the tripod? Let's see. And by camera related, I mean we're going to look at a person's face. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna lie, I was very confused at what I was looking at. And I will explain that in just a second. Okay, so that is the scratching off of Peeping Tom from 1960. And I had... I promise this is not me backpedaling. I had said before I scratched it off that I thought the reveal was going to be something camera related, and it is clearly a woman's face, though very distorted. In the movie, they show that one of his cameras has a mount over the lens, which is like a reflective dish, and that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the reflective dish with a woman's face in it. So, I was correct. I promise you I'm not just making that up so that I was right and not wrong. Next week we're going to be going over Psycho, but we're not doing the Psycho from 1960. There was a crossover between the 100 essential films and the 100 horror films. So the review that I just posted on Tuesday was for Psycho from 1960. So next week we're going to be doing the remake of Psycho, starring Vince Vaughn, that supposedly was shot for shot the same as the 1960 version, and we're going to do a little comparison of both. So stop back next week if you want to hear my thoughts on that. I want to thank you guys again for taking time out of your day to watch this video. A very big special I love you, thank you to my Patreon subscribers whose names are going to be popping up in just a second. We have 10 right now. We are 10 away from doing a giveaway of the Everyone is Awesome Lego set. So if you guys want a chance to win that, I'll add a link down to the Patreon below. We have a few days left of June, which I'd really love to give this away during Pride Month. So check it out, tell your friends, and until next time, I will see you next Thursday. I love you. Later days.